Good afternoon. Welcome to the meeting of the San Francisco Public Library Commission for October 15th, 2020. The time is 4:30 p.m. My name is Michael Lambert, your city librarian. In the absence of having an incumbent staff member serving in the capacity of Library Commission Secretary, I will be serving as the default Library Commission Secretary this evening. Due to the COVID-19 health emergency and to protect library commissioners, staff, and the public, the San Francisco Public Library, Main Library, and the Corrett Auditorium are closed. However, members will be participating in the meeting remotely. This precaution is taken pursuant to the statewide stay-at-home order and all preceding and proceeding local, state, and federal orders, declarations, and directives. Commissioners will attend the meeting through video conference and participate in the meeting to the same extent as if they were physically present. Public comment will be available for each item on this agenda. Members of the public can observe the meeting using the Webex system by following the link in the library's event calendar and on the Library Commission meeting agenda, or by calling local 1-415-655-0001 and entering the access code for this specific meeting. The access code for today's meeting is 1-4-6-2-0-5-1-5-9-5. When connected by phone, members of the public can dial *3 to be added to the public comment queue. Individuals joining via Webex should click the raise hand button in the lower right-hand portion of the participant panel in order to be added to the queue. Best practices for all public commenters are to call from a quiet location, speak clearly and slowly, and turn down your television or radio. Each commenter will be allowed 3 minutes to speak. All commenters will remain on mute until their line is open. In facilitating this meeting this evening and to assist in moderating public comment, I will be joined for operation support by the library's digital strategist, Bill Kolb. Mr. Kolb will be calling upon members of the public by name or by caller number to prompt each attendee who wishes to provide public comment. Emailed public comments have been posted to the Library Commission's webpage, along with the agenda and explanatory documents. The chat function built into Webex will not be monitored by commissioners or presenters and is not intended as a channel for providing comment or feedback to the commission. Commissioners and presenters will not respond to content added to the chat. I will now commence with roll call. Library commissioners in attendance are Dr. Wardell Giraduzzi, our president, Commissioners Ono, Lee, Wong, and Wolf. And I'm just verifying if our vice president, yes, our vice president, Susan Mall, has joined us. And our newest library commissioner, Dr. Urania Lopez. The Library Commission now has a full commission with the appointment of Dr. Lopez by Mayor Breed. Welcome, Dr. Lopez, and congratulations on your appointment. Madam President.
Thank you very much to our city librarian, Lambert. I would like to join City Librarian Lambert in welcoming Dr. Urania Lopez to the commission. We're so excited to have you here with us. So hello and welcome to this meeting of the San Francisco Public Library Commission. Today is October 15th. And I want to thank you to the members of the public who are attending this meeting remotely. If you have not done so already, all the materials for this meeting are available for download on the Library Commission page of the library's website, sfpl.org. We have a total of 5 agenda items today, so we are going to begin with item number 1 on the agenda and open it up for general comment. Members of the public who wish to provide general public comment should now raise their hands in order to be added to the queue. If you are using the WebEx interface, click the raise hand button in the lower right-hand portion of the screen. If you have called into the WebEx dial-in number at 1-415-655-0001, please press *3 to line up to speak.
All right. Thank you, Madam President. Operations is checking to see if we have any callers, and it looks like we do. Operations?
Yes, Madam President, we do have call-in commenters.
Thank you, Operations. Would you put our commenter through?
Caller, your 3 minutes begins now.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you, caller.
This is Peter Warfield, Executive Director of Library Users Association. We can be reached at libraryusers2004@yahoo.com. First of all, I'd like to welcome and congratulate our new appointment, which the announcement I've heard is the very first news that I have seen with regard to this appointment. I think it is very unfortunate that the Library Commission couldn't provide some basic information and an announcement on its agenda so that folks could know, oh, we've got a new Library Commissioner. It would also improve the record of the Library Commission's how fulfilled the appointment have been. This appointment has been empty for some time. A number of points, and I'd appreciate if you could give me a 30-second warning. Can that happen?
Please continue.
Do I get an answer? Will there be a 30-second warning? Madam Chair?
We're not offering a 30-second warning, so please continue.
All right. When we are at the Commission meetings, there's a clock that tells you every second of your 3 minutes where you exactly are in that place. And I think it would be appropriate for the library to provide some provision for the public who may not be able to access a timer themselves at home. The paper notices were a big issue last year, and the library agreed that it would send paper notices after discontinuing them without any notice whatsoever to anybody other than the people who got paper notices by sending them a single letter. There was no discussion, no revelation to the Commission, certainly no approval. And we made a fuss about it. A number of folks did. The library has 19,000 people on its list of folks who only are contacted via mail. And now we find that all the updates to library activities, including newly available magazine borrowing, which I think is terrific, but there's no notification on paper whatsoever. That is wrong, and that should be fixed. Free and equal access means all the library users should get access to the updated information as they come out multiple times on email. The Berkeley Public Library, as an example, has all of its branches open for curb service, and ours has only about a quarter, and that should be fixed also.
3 minutes.
Thank you. Operations, are there any other commenters in the queue?
Madam President, there are additional commenters.
Please put the next commenter through, please.
Walter, your 3 minutes begins now.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Walter Thompson. I am a new board member for Friends of the San Francisco Public Library. I had a question recently. I came across an article written on Mission Local, and I'll share the link in the chat so that the host and presenter can see it. But the article basically details how San Francisco residents or anyone who wants to apply to be a civil servant working for the city must take a test, screening. And the office is located I'm not sure the actual name, but it's kind of near Caltrain in the southern part of the city. But the point is, the test is basically what I'm hearing is that people are taking these tests, civil service tests, in groups of up to 50 people at a time in situations that, as reported, seem like it's minimal physical distancing at best, in keeping with CDC guidelines. And so my question was, would it be possible for the library to offer some of its facility at some point to the city, to people could take these civil service exams in a perhaps safer environment with more space and more physical distancing? That's all the question I had. I won't take any more of your time. Thanks very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, caller, for the comment. Operations, can you put through the next commenter?
Caller, your 3 minutes begins now.
Good evening. My name is Diane Gibson, and I am a resident of San Francisco, and I'm calling to comment on the general state of access to the library at the moment, for the various libraries in the city. First of all, I want to thank the many individual library employees for their ingenuity and hard work in supporting San Francisco's COVID response. But I am concerned about the severe effect that COVID and the diversion of library staff to COVID response has had on providing library access and services to library patrons, especially in underserved areas of the city. I think the first step would be expanding access to more branches for curbside pickup. I have used curbside pickup. It's pretty easy to use, but it is available in less than half of the branches, and it is inaccessible to households without immediate access to the internet. And the low number of sites that are offered at the moment makes access to the library difficult for patrons who lack access to transportation, especially given the current reduced Muni routes. As I do understand that neighboring areas in the Bay Area have curbside service at much higher percentages than San Francisco, and I would like to see San Francisco do that as well. Moving forward beyond curbside pickup, I would welcome information about what sort of a plan there is and anticipated timing for reopening of the physical branches. As retail and other related sites in the city are allowed to reopen, I know many of us are eager to see library branches open within the constraints of the COVID response for patrons to actually be able to go into the libraries. SFPL has provided a crucial stopgap for people to be able to get reading materials during this time, but as noted, it does require internet access, and you also have to know what you want to read. You have to know what books you want to ask for. I think all of us who use the library miss the ability to browse the shelves or get recommendations in person from a librarian, and we miss that joy of discovering a book that you've never heard of that turns out to be one of the favorites that you've ever read. So I would welcome to see progress in that direction. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, commenter, for that, for sharing that. Operations, would you put through the next public commenter?
Sarah, your 3 minutes begins now.
Thank you. I just wanted to say how proud I have been of the library and the way it's helped the city respond to the COVID crisis. I think it's such a well-funded group, and although I wish that I'd love to see those funds go into the library. I do understand that this is a situation that really calls for all hands on deck, and I think the library employees and staff have just done a wonderful job. I've been really happy to see the SFPL To Go opening, and I really hope we'll continue to see curbside pickup opening in more branches. I think it's really important to make sure that this service is open throughout the city. I think people miss their library and miss the access to information and frankly also internet that the library has given them. So I hope while I understand that the library is doing its part, I do hope that there is a plan for opening more branches around or more curbside pickup around the city. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Young flutists in the background studying their music education. Operations, would you put through the next commenter, please?
Marie, your 3 minutes begins now.
Hi, hello. This is Marie Sfpl, Executive Director of Friends of the San Francisco Public Library, and welcome to Dr. Lopez. I hope to be able to meet you in person. And, you know, we just wanted to express our extreme thanks for the incredibly hard work that the library has done under Michael's leadership. You know, we're always in the privileged position of getting to track along with all of the incredible things and be able to support them actually and fund them. All the strategic ways in which these librarians and the library staff can do almost anything you ask them to do. And they are certainly being asked to do things beyond anything they ever imagined right now. And so we are very, very happy and grateful to be part of that and to thank them. Yeah, you know, we've been, actually our 60th anniversary is next year. So for 60 years, we've been tracking along with the community, listening, being the eyes and ears of the community. And of course, I always get the advantage of getting to talk to people all the time, although I will say Michael is probably the most responsive department head in answering questions from anybody who stops him on the street or on Facebook. But I just did want to let you know that as you've heard in a couple of comments, we are seeing an increasing number of people calling us or bringing us the question. I think that's similar to what was posed earlier is, gosh, we're doing so well with our data on COVID and library is retail. Is there any chance we can start to see some physical reopening? So I just wanted to bring you that feedback that we are seeing our public start to ask a little bit of that question. And I have, of course, had the opportunity to talk to Michael, and I'm sure he will be talking about some of all of the issues around the library today. But thank you so much, and looking forward to the reports on more SFPL To Go and the evolving community hubs. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comment. Operations, are there other commenters in the queue?
Madam President, there is an additional commenter.
Please put that commenter through.
Marciel, your 3 minutes begins now.
Hi, thanks for taking my comment. I just want to respond and say that I want to thank the city librarian and management for looking out for the staff right now. I understand that as a public library user that there are SFPL To Go sites that are kicking off, and I think it's really important to keep the staff safety in mind. And I'm really pleased with how things have moved forward, and I think that they are done in a cautious manner, and I appreciate that, and I wanted to thank the city librarian and the commission. Thank you.
Thank you, commenter. Appreciate that feedback. Operations, are there any other commenters in the queue?
Madam President, there are no additional comments in the queue.
Okay, since there are no further requests for comments, general public comment is closed, at least for now. We're going to move on to our next agenda item. And that item is an update on the Maya Angelou statute. This is a discussion of the Maya Angelou statute at the main library as outlined by City Ordinance.
Dr. Wardell, yeah. Dr. Wardell, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I think that may not be an accurate agenda that you're looking at right now, because item number 2 for this evening is a presentation about summer stride.
Yes. Okay. Yes. I realized that this was a earlier draft. So please forgive me for that. So our agenda item next one is on the summer stride. And this is a presentation on the library's annual summer learning program.
Thank you, President Wardell, and good afternoon, Library Commissioners. I'm so proud to be bringing you this report this evening about the library's signature Summer Stride Summer Learning Program. Earlier this spring, when we closed our doors on Friday, March 13th, our public services staff were just putting the finishing touches on the robust slate of programming for the summer. And these programs are always planned at least 2 to 3 months in advance to allow for all the events to be listed in our Summer Stride program guide and featured on our website and other collateral. And I want to acknowledge the Herculean efforts of our staff to plan all these events and then have to pivot and follow up with all the presenters to cancel or in some cases transition the program planning to a virtual environment. The staff in our Community Programs and Partnerships Division truly have the show must go on mentality and are so extremely passionate and committed to delivering on our annual Summer Stride promise. It is my pleasure to introduce the two principals, Christy Estrovitz, our Youth Services Manager, who coordinates children's programming system-wide, and our Community Engagement Manager, Alejandro Gallegos. These two dynamos will present our Summer Stride report. Christy and Alejandro.
Thank you, Michael, City Librarian, for the invitation to report back to the Library Commission. Good evening, Commissioners. It's great to see your faces and provide this annual report to you. As Michael said, Alejandro and I have the pleasure of co-chairing the Summer Learning Committee meeting. We meet year-round to plan the annual Summer Learning, Reading, and Exploration program. It is a team effort, and this was flagged pretty on in the pandemic as a priority for the library system to reboot and adapt to a place which was the screen. So I feel like we've done this pretty masterfully to figure out what programs to bring to the virtual space so our community can feel safe and informed and delighted with library offerings. You will note throughout this presentation, there's spot art. This is original art created by Allison Farrell. She's the author and illustrator of The Hike per our partnership with the Chronicle Books. So we thank them. This is our 7th year of collaborating with them to create original visuals for our community. Next slide, please. We are delighted to have the attention and the support of Mayor London Breed. This is her 2nd year joining us as the lead champion for our summer offerings. This year, we're also joined by Phil Ginsburg, as you see, and in conjunction with the Golden Gate Park's 150th birthday celebration. And for many years running, we had the support of SFUSD Superintendent, Dr. Matthews, and of course, Dr. Maria Sue from the Department of Children, Youth, and Their Families. And none of this would be possible without the rock star support of the Friends of the San Francisco Public Library, from paying for badges to paying the honorarium for the illustrator to so much more. All of our public programming, it is because of them. So thank you, Friends of the Library. So as Michael said, this was an all hands on deck for CPP. We were all quickly approved to telecommute, and we had to unplan over 1,000 events that had been planned system-wide for our community. Then we took a moment to research and do a marketplace research of what are our peer libraries using as the platform to deliver content. So we landed on YouTube, which we had a strong YouTube channel thanks to our media services team. We also decided to try something new and explore Instagram TV for some of our story times, but also some of our select summer programs. And we also optimized Zoom to make all of this possible. So in total, we were able to put together, in a matter of less than a month, 91 virtual events spanning 3 months for all ages and attracting over 22,000 views and counting. I think the sweet spot of this whole sheltered in place pandemic that we're experiencing, that it is a shared experience, and we're learning how our YouTube channel can record and provide a collection of experiences for our viewers, our community, to view at their choice. So we see this, our programs being visited and revisited and shared continually. So we're really proud of that accessibility offering to our community. And as you heard last month from Ileana Pulu, we engaged 29 San Francisco teen interns. So I know she gave a really deep dive into our teen leadership program. So thank you for supporting that. So this is a lot for a very small team to do, and I want to acknowledge our graphics team. who thoughtfully worked with the illustrator to add mask on our three main characters, and also recreate images for this campaign. Our web services team that we worked with closely to create our Summer Stride landing page, and so many other assets to support our program offerings. Our dynamic media services team. I've worked with them kind of in the shadows on different projects, but seeing their work up close, I have so much appreciation for the talent that they hold and the wisdom and experience they bring production. So thank you, Sam, Rich, Kenny, and Chris. And our programmers who jumped in wholeheartedly with the spirit of what can we do for our community and what will inspire them and uplift them. And our Dynamo communications team, Kate Patterson and also Jamie Wong, who really were a secret weapon for getting this out into the public, and select partners that we're able to continue to program with. Next slide, please. So I just want to shine the light on our social media campaign. I'm sure you're all following this. We had to really be mindful of our superpower during a normal summer is our staff. We have 900 staff promoting this from every service point and out in the community. And without our staff being able to do the hand-to-hand selling of our program and engagement and publicity, we really had to lean into our social media. So Jamie Wong pulled some data from us to just share with you some of the highlights of engagements. So our new IGTV, our Instagram TV, premiered all of our Sweet Stories series, all of our STEM Challenge series, and a few other special programs, garnering 47,000 views. That's a lot of activity. Our Twitter is really strong, as is our Facebook as well. The impressions, you probably know this, are views, so what comes across your screen. And the engagement is when you interact with that. You might like it, you might share it, you might comment on it, you click on it for more information. So that's the distinction between the two. And Jamie shared a couple of our high-performing posts. So one is an Instagram where you see all of our collateral that's now available at our SFPL To Go sites. And then a tweet. This is in conjunction with the National Summer Learning Association Summer Learning Week. So we got some great interplay with our national partners to elevate why we're in the work, the good work of summer learning engagement. And that single tweet garnered over 13,000 impressions and nearly 200 engagements, so retweets, likes, and so forth. And you'll see, you probably saw this on our social channels as well. This is we really exercised our access to our translators and engaged them in helping us translate our printable book list and reading tips in 3 languages. That's a new service and a really important way of reaching our community right now. Next slide, please. I got to talk about our youth programs. Sadly, it's not the big numbers, but I am so proud of the weekly events that we were able to deliver to our community. We offered 3 weekly events for a youth audience. Our local talent showcase. We love the Alphabet Rockers. They're Grammy-nominated, social justice, amazing, talented folks, and they were ahead of the game. And when it came to virtual engagement, so we called them first and said, "Hey, can we do something together?" And of course, they said yes. They love our libraries. So they opened our summer learning program with a rocking concert and then closed out at the end of the summer with a songwriting workshop, which was so deep and profound for our youth. In between, we offered a marionette show, which garnered over 1,000 views in 1 week. We had Mr. Science come in and film a program with us on nature. It brought in albino python. My goodness. Our media services team was really cool about that. So thank you, Sam and Rich. I also want to just acknowledge that we also did maker programs with that and really thought about our local talent. So working with San Francisco-based artists and performers and makers. so they could be visible on our channels. And we could also give back to our community in that way. We created an original STEM Challenge Yourself series. Ileana was our host, and we worked with 5 youth librarians to create the script and then film in the mix with Rich and his team. And these went live every Tuesday on our Instagram TV. These were really well received, and we used social media the day in advance to announce what household items you would need to do this experience. We created a landing page off of our website that's still visited today, and we had great response from our partners from the YMCA. They folded this into their online camps as well. So we were glad that our partners were really receiving the curriculum that we made. So thank you, youth librarians, for helping with this original program series. And we left a space open the last week. It was all for the teens. So they took over and filmed their own STEM challenge. It was a showcase. And right now, every weekday, you can catch one of their STEM challenges in the Teen-tober takeover. So I invite you to check that out. In normal summers, we have really saturated the system in our city with the art that we've commissioned, the original art that reflects our community. And with Allison, we just didn't have that opportunity. So we decided to do a full week spotlighting the assets that she developed. She did a 4-part nature video series, doing nature crafts, which we showcased during the week, and brought in the different assets that our graphics team had made that you could do at home to really celebrate her. She offered also a live reading of her book at the onset of our Summer Strike campaign. So really a beautiful way for us to involve her and celebrate her gift to San Francisco. Next slide, please. And I just want you to take note of the number of adult programs, and I hope that you had a chance to partake in this dynamic celebration of writers and authors. Anissa, our adult engagement coordinator, is at the helm of this, and she probably coordinated all 61 programs, to be honest. She is deep in with the artist community and loves to bring them on stage and be in conversation with them. We also, during the summer, were able to implement a Tech Tuesday program with the Bridge as well to offer technology programs. And I took my first Canva program thanks to a Tech Tuesday program. So these are still growing strong. And I want to celebrate her for always doing a great pre-show. At the beginning of her program, she takes extra time to talk about what's coming down the pipeline, what programs you would want to see, when they're happening, and also San Francisco news about remembering to wear your mask, the importance of it, and census. This is the last day to submit your census, doing that in honor of Anissa. And this data here that you see in comparison to last year's number of adult participants in public programming during the summer, we actually exceeded that this year. It's a 115% increase in the number of viewers for adult programs. That's pretty exciting to think about. Again, most of these programs are recorded and available on our YouTube channel. So please feel free to check this out. And I do want to acknowledge Anissa's thoughtfulness and how she prepared this. You'll see Black writers, Black artists, members of our queer community. It's a very inclusive programming offering curated by Anissa. So thank you, Anissa. And it's also fire. It's so strong. Next slide, please. I would love to spend just a few moments to honor and celebrate our partnership with the National Park Service, the Golden Gate Parks Conservancy, and the Presidio Trust, and new this year, the Rec and Parks of San Francisco. As you know, this partnership with the Parks team that I call has been going strong for 5 years. It started with the centennial in 2016. And I really credit this partnership for teaching us a new way of serving our community beyond the doors of our library, with field trips to local national parks and guided ranger talks at every location. And we had mapped out an amazing summer together, and we had to think deeply about what could we do. And we all the institutions just rallied behind, said, we are in this together and we're going to come up with a new shared vision. So we rebuilt and created original content for a weekly nature boost. So that was 11 events total and over 8, I'm going to say over because we are now doing a monthly series of Nature Boost because it's been so well received by our community. We installed 3 story walks with over 76,000 visits thus far, and the story walks are up through the end of the year. Next slide, please. This is a sample of the Nature Boost. You see our program. So this is an educational virtual experience for family and nature enthusiast audience. We had viewers from Scotland, from all over America, joining us for these special experiences. I am so impressed with what our partners offered. We used our Zoom channel to host each event, and it ranged from a story time with Allison Farrell, our artist, to a highlight of the Stonewall Memorial and talking about gay pride, Pride San Francisco, as well as a virtual field trip to Land's End with Yakata Punawana, who is seen hugging a tree here. It also included a Spanish reading of The Hike, and soon in December you will see and hear a Chinese reading of The Hike. It'll be recorded so we can see that. The National Park Service's rangers really helped educate us on captioning and the importance of making our programs even more accessible. So I want to thank them for that. The content that we've created will outlast and outlive the pandemic. So we're really proud of that. And the last one that we did as part of the summer series was a career pathway centered for teens, where a variety of rangers and naturalists shared their story. And the majority of the rangers are people of color, telling how they got started and why they have chosen this career path. It's such an inspiration, and I hope you have a chance to experience that. Next slide, please. And if you haven't had a Storywalk experience lately, I invite you to visit Land's End or the Presidio or Mountain Lake and just partake of this. It is such a fun way to experience a book in the park. And this book is really grounded in the Pacific Northwest. And our partners from the Presidio Trust added local details. So we really appreciate the authenticity to this partnership and how they expand the reading experience and ground it in the place where the readers are right now. So please partake of this before it goes away at the end of the year. Next slide, please. And with that, we have been partnering with the National Park Service to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the occupation of Alcatraz for almost a year. And I want to hand it off to Alejandro to talk a little bit more about the significance of these 4 programs for an adult audience.
So yeah, thank you, Christy. I'll pick up here with Actually, first, hi, commissioners. I'm super happy to see you all. And a heartfelt welcome to our new commissioner. It'll be exciting when this is over to work in person with all of you again and with our new commissioner as well. So yeah, this is our Red Power slide. And as Christy showed, our partnership with the parks is it spanned a number of years. And another particularly special aspect of this partnership has been the inclusion of adult programs. And the way that has manifested itself in our programming is in kind of 2 specific areas. Connecting Alcatraz, the national park, to mass incarceration and the issues around that, and connecting Alcatraz to Native American, American Indian Red Power movement. We began exploring this type of programming last summer with them, and our parks partners were really enthusiastic about expanding it this year. And these are the 4 adult programs we hosted with community partners and facilitated by National Parks Rangers. Next slide, please. Okay, so now, I don't know if any of you have heard of Beanstack, but now to Beanstack. Beanstack is an online service that allows patrons to track their reading and learning. It's a little similar to how patrons would track their time in past years, but this is now completely online. So this is the component of summer learning where people track their time, they sign up with us, they log their minutes, they log their hours, they log the books they read, and at the end they have a sense of accomplishment, and we encourage them to come to our libraries, to do our programs, to check out our books, to visit our staff. It is now online, and that's what Beanstack was for. So this is now completely online, and just like in previous years, we asked participants to read a minimum of 20 hours. That was the challenge. As they tracked their time, they would earn quote-unquote badges, and upon completion, they were eligible for a finishing prize. So what you see here is this year we had over 6,600 readers, with just about 40% completing the 20-hour challenge, as they self-reported. The total number of reading minutes was over 4 million. It's a lot of minutes. We don't think this is the complete story. We would also add that we mailed paper trackers similar to ones that we've had in the past. We mailed those as we've done in previous years to SFUSD students. So our best guess is that there were a fair number of students who didn't use Beanstack for a variety of reasons, but did track their time on the paper tracker. Next slide, please. So using Beanstack this year offered some interesting insights. We were able to see, for example, our top participating schools. So I included here the top 5, which are located in a variety of neighborhoods representing, what do we have here? We have the Richmond, Chinatown, the Mission, North Beach, and Sunset. But we have the whole list of, top to bottom of the schools that participated. We were also able to view participants by age, and you're seeing a brief breakdown. Also among children, the ages, if you're interested, the ages with the most participation were 9-year-olds, followed by 10-year-olds, then 7-year-olds, then 8-year-olds, kind of like that upper elementary. Those are the ones who are like, we're signing in, we're reading our books, we are getting this prize, and we're finishing. Next slide, please. After every summer stride, we do a finishing survey for people who finish. We ask standard questions. These are the results of our finishing survey this year. We did have one added question that was different. We eliminated one and we added one. The last one here, which is about online resources, so ebooks, streaming films, etc. And 69% of respondents felt that Summer Stride encouraged them to explore these resources. You'll also notice, did you read more this summer? Did you participate in any virtual library programs? Did you learn something new thanks to the library this summer? The books on the right. At the right of the slide, these were the top 3 books read as reported by our readers who used Beanstack. If I recall correctly, I don't think there was an adult book that cracked the top 12, but there were a lot of wizards and spiders and talking pigs, but these were the top 3. And I've read Winnie the Pooh and Charlotte's Web and Harry Potter, but previous to this year. Next slide, please. So this is where I think we begin to thank our partners for making this possible, but before that, I'd like to acknowledge again, Michael did, Christy did, but I want to as well to thank the hard work of our staff, treading like these really unknown waters and moving this entire program, which we had been planning since September, into an entirely virtual format. Our committee worked really quickly to transition. As Christy said, like within a month, we had to decide, what are we doing? Let's do this. How about this? This is a priority. We have to call the 1,000 programs that we'd already booked and said, how can we work with you to do something this summer? Arranging for new programs, taking existing programs, turning them virtual. So really like the people in communication and programming and media services and web services in all aspects, everyone who had their hands in doing this really deserves commendation for making this work. In that same vein, again, want to thank the artist we worked with, Allison Farrell, and although the artwork was finished like in February, I invite you again to take a look at if you looked previously, a lot of them had masks in previous slides. This is a very obvious one where they have really cool masks. as they are practicing best safety practices. And we know that families enjoyed this, and these images were well received by families who experienced the art. Next slide, please. So these are the partners I really want to thank and acknowledge. And I also want to thank the Commission for your support and for giving us the opportunity to present to you today. But this is the City and County of San Francisco, the Friends of the Library, the National Parks, Chronicle Books, the Hike and Allison Farrell, the Parks Alliance, the, what do we have? Rec and Park, KQAD, Presidio Trust, Golden Gate Park, the National Golden Gate Parks Conservancy, SFUSD, like DCYF. It's just this effort, especially this year, these partnerships felt so important. The teamwork that our staff demonstrated felt so important and critical. The decision-making and the leadership shown by Michelle Jeffers, by Michael, by Christy. Things won't happen without Christy. These things, like this was so important, and the acknowledgement for all of our partners, all of you commissioners for encouraging us, supporting us, the friends for supporting us is incredibly important. And I hope what we just showed you is something that you are proud of, because I know we're extremely proud of what we did, and we hope our city is as well. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that amazing report. With that, we are going to go to our public comment. And after the public comment, we'll have an opportunity for the commission to have a discussion. But right now, let's go to our public comment. Operations, would you put through the first caller, please?
Caller number 3, your 3 minutes begins now.
Yes, this is Peter Warfield, Executive Director of Library Users Association. We can be reached at libraryusers2004@yahoo.com. Are you hearing me?
Yes, we do. We hear you.
Thank you. We're always glad to hear about reading and books, and certainly, well, in the past, actually, it seems Michelle Jeffers has made the presentation, but we're always glad to hear from folks who are doing programs, particularly ones that focus on reading. I do have some concerns, and the first question overall is what was available to folks who do not have access or easy access to computers? We've had this discussion before. Let me say, especially for the new commissioner, the City of San Francisco made a survey. It was called the City and County of San Francisco Digital Equity Plan. I'm not using the exact word, 2019 to 24. It's a 5-year plan for establishing and improving digital equity. In that survey, there was a survey taken, which you can read in the back, and it showed that a very substantial number of people in San Francisco, over 100,000, do not have access basically to the internet. And as you can imagine, it also laid out who has in that group the least access. And of course, minorities have the least access, with black folks at the bottom, Asians in the middle, and Latins, and then white people at the top. Also, older people have a much lower rate of access, and poor people, of course, as well have a radically lower level of access. There is nothing in this program that I can see that talks about actual ways in which people without access to a computer would know about this. I know about this because of going into the branch, and there are paper trackers and there's publicity and so on. But if you don't have computer access, if you're not on getting computer information, how are you going to take part in almost any of these programs? I think the library's claim for free and equal access really needs to be attached to this kind of program, and that those folks have to be considered very much, rather than being completely abandoned and left behind. The second thing is with respect to privacy. More and more of the library's programs are depending on outside vendors of services online, and there is a notorious issue of privacy and the use of and the stealing of and the manipulation of information about people as they use any of these things. And that has to be considered very strongly.
Thank you, commenter. Operations, would you put through the next commenter?
Michael Vincent, your 3 minutes begins now.
Hi, I'm Michael Vincent Danella Mercanti. Hello, Commission. Thank you very much for this incredible presentation about Summer Stride, Chrissy and Alejandro. I think it really highlights the high value of digital content that's being created at the library for free to the public. The library has really adapted to digital programming in a robust and inspiring way. I know online programming is doesn't serve all members of our community. There are members without internet access, but I would just like to focus right now on the digital programming that we have been able to access. A lot of the programs and a lot of the author talks in this city are paid events or events that are behind a paywall, or you have to wait to see the event at a later time. But every event that the library has had has been free and has gotten some incredible names to participate in these author talks, to the point where like City Arts and Lectures and I think the one of the diversity speaker series are using these same names. These like the library had these authors first, and now other organizations are using our list and our example. I think the Race After Technology, Abolitionist Tools and the New Jim Code author talk with Ruha Benjamin was one of the most incredible library programs I've ever attended. The Juli de Lago Lopero event during Summer Stride. These are incredible authors, and it's amazing that they've been free to the public. And I think it just emphasizes the importance of digital content in this new digital space that we're all living in, the screens. But making sure it's free to the public, that it has an emphasis on privacy, that you can just access with your own Zoom link. There's no tracking like other organizations where you need to buy or pay to access the content. And I just want to say thank you for the amazing digital work that the library is doing.
Thank you for your comment. Operation, is there another commenter in the queue?
Madam President, there are no additional commenters.
Okay, so the public comment on this item is closed at this time. And now I'd like to invite the commission. This is a discussion item, and so you have the presenters, Christy, Alejandro, available to you. And so any item that you'd like to either comment on or questions that you have for the two of them, now would be the time to do so. Commissioners, so that we can able to manage this, I'm going to ask you to use the hand raising functionality so I can monitor and see who has their hand up. It appears to me that Commissioner Wolf may be the first one, but any other commissioners after that, if you would just put your hand up, that would be great. Okay, Commissioner Wolf, would you unmute yourself?
Hi. This was just a fantastic presentation. This is my favorite program. Well, I say that every time about every program. They're all fantastic, but this one really, I love the pride that the staff takes in doing this. So congratulations on pivoting so wonderfully and successfully to really engage our community during such uncertain and challenging times. I'm just wondering if you might comment on what were the lessons you learned about doing everything online? What would you do differently if, let's say, next year we're in the same situation, or how you want to continue the levels of engagement over the coming months through this, how you're connecting to these populations? So what lessons were learned, and what would you do differently?
Thank you, Commissioner Wolf, for that question, because we are constantly learning. I can say for our team, we had never presented a virtual program before. We're very skilled at gathering people together. And how can we do that in a virtual space? So with every program, we learned something new. And it was a very collaborative experience of debriefing immediately afterwards with what went well, what do we need to do next time? Oh, Zoom has another update. Let's do this. So that mindset has been really healthy. And now we're in the position when librarians are coming back to train them to transfer this knowledge so they feel supported. So we feel really grateful to have a growth mindset about public programming and learning how to do this in a space that feels safe for our staff and is more accessible to our community. For me, I've learned some really valuable takeaways of like strong connectivity from my home Wi-Fi. Thinking about that, I would say that our Viva series is one of our most polished series that's happening right now because of all the summer programming and learning that we've done together as a team. So it's a great example of working with authors, sharing space, making space for more artists of colors to join us and be part of this work together. And with a spirit of celebrating all types of learning and having a very uplifting approach to what we're doing right now. And I feel like we're going to continue to model this and grow what we're doing. And you'll see our YouTube page, we're going to do some zhuzhing of it very soon to make it more curated. So it's easier to find the content for the users and really thinking about our community as what they would want to find and how they'd want to discover it. So some great things are going to be happening in the next couple of weeks to make that improvement. Alejandro, do you have any takeaways that you want to share?
Yeah, I think on our adult side and also on the youth side, I think we've noticed that previously we used to, we would film like 1%, 5% of our programs. Doing this virtual programming, we're recording almost all of it. And we're also noticing that there are a lot of views happening not during the actual time of the program, which also is a valuable tool. Being able to do things virtually offers the opportunity to work with, we had an author who was living in Germany at the time, a Vietnamese author who was living in Berlin, but was able to do an author talk when her book came out. So it offers opportunities, but also recording it allows people who missed it, or I'm with my kids this afternoon, so I can't watch it right now, but I do want to see the Frida Kahlo talk that occurred last night. I want to watch it this weekend. So there's opportunities like that I don't think we had seized previously that now we know we can do. And I think it has forced us to become comfortable in a different format and how to do this virtual programming. But another thing, I don't want to leave unaddressed the idea of all this virtual programming and who might not be able to participate in it. And I think for us, when we were discussing this, we're like, well, who will be able to participate? And one thing that I think pushed us to do this was the knowledge that SFUSD was giving computers to all of their kids, was giving, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, we can hear you, Alejandro.
Sorry. SFUSD was trying to make access available to all of their kids, was trying to give them both internet access through MiFis, was trying to give devices. That doesn't answer that whole question of how we would do this differently. How could we reach more people? But I think that's certainly one model, and it would be maybe working with other partners to ensure access for other communities, either it's seniors or assisted living facilities and other opportunities to how can we better reach them. I think we're trying to do that now, and I think we're trying to do that with current partners and trying to work with partners to reach their clients and the people that they work with to do that. So those are all hard questions, but I really appreciate your question about what have we learned from it? And I think we have learned, and we're still trying new things. And like Christy said, Viva right now is pretty incredible. We had a program 2 weeks ago with an author who was in Mexico, an artist in Mexico City. We're having, it has opened up a lot of things, and also there's a lot of things still to think about. So thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Thank you for being so nimble and for recognizing that this is a learning opportunity and that we want everybody to keep learning, and that's what you keep doing. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Commissioner Wong.
Thank you. And I just want to add on 2 comments to Commissioner Wolf's discussion. This is another example of just how talented and resilient the staff and the team at SFPL really is. In my industry, we talk about quote unquote raw horsepower, right? Like the people who have raw horsepower are the people who, at the end of the day, they can get it done, right? They are here and they can solve the problem. And those are the people that you trust in times when things change or when certain dynamics get challenging, right? And so here, to everyone involved, year over year, but especially this year with Summer Stride, I'm reminded of that, right? And I'm really proud of you all for putting together such a vastly different program than the one that you had initially laid out, but one that was kind of reacting to the dynamics of the world around you as we're all trying to figure out what exactly was going on in the first place. And second of all, my second comment, Christy, you had mentioned something about like the view count, right? And I think with social, it's always easy to say, oh, we're shooting for tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. Like you all want the numbers to be really, really big on views, on engagements, what have you, right? I think what's special about this is like, no matter what the view count was, no matter what the engagement count was, every single one of those was a moment where you made an impact on someone's life, right? And it doesn't matter if we were shooting for, let's say, 90,000 views on something and Willie got 10,000 instead. That doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, like to impact 10,000 people, and that every single one of those views, made it easier to get through another day of COVID, to that we educated someone, that we provided more perspective, that we provided entertainment, right? Like that, I think, is often lost in when we start to measure things and we get lost in the numbers. At the end of the day, right? Like the magic of the internet is that we get to communicate with so many more people, and we get to make a difference and show up in their lives. And here you have clearly done that above and beyond. And so I think if we were ever to kind of do a sort of retroactive look at our statistics or anything, I would always just encourage you to keep that in mind, that there is so much to be proud of, and that the numbers sort of like hide the human experience a little bit, that's sort of backing all of this. So those are just 2 comments I'll throw out there. I appreciate all of your work as always. And again, this is now the 3rd Summer Stride I've had the opportunity to comment on, and it's such an impactful one. I'm so grateful to be here and to have listened to the presentation.
Thank you. Commissioner Lee, if you would unmute yourself.
Yes. Well, I think Angelou, as the previous 2 commissioner mentioned, the program is amazing, and it is being so responsive in such a short period of time. The Summer Stride just keep the show going. It's pretty amazing. I also think to have the additional information provided to say about the San Francisco USD providing students with access equipment so that they will be able to participate. Now, that said, I'm thinking about sort of looking forward into next year. So now we have 11 months to think about what the next year would be like. So from your perspective, is there a survey to reach out to people who were not able to participate and see what it is that they feel that is a barrier besides the obvious, they have no equipment? Or is there anything else that they lack that deter them to be able to join? And God forbid, if the vaccine development is such that we will still be limited to the barrier as a result of this pandemic. Any forward-thinking thought that you would like to share, and how to help those that, so to speak, in this particular case, left behind?
Thank you for the question, Commissioner Lee. This is Michael Lambert, the city librarian, and I do want Christy and Alejandro to feel free to weigh in. But I would just say at the outset of this response that team did take into consideration individuals without internet connectivity, and we were intentional in partnering with the San Francisco Unified School District, and we mailed a summer stride tracking log to every SFUSD student. So over 50,000 summer stride logs went out so that we invited participation whether or not a young person had internet connectivity. And I think that's something that was not lost on the team early on in planning as we pivoted. And I think it's something that will continue to keep top of mind. Hopefully by next summer, we will have moved further along in our reopening process. But I'll turn it over to Christy and Alejandro to see if they wanted to weigh in on this.
I think that's a really important question that is not just summer stride, but is like, what are we doing now? How are we doing it? And I think one interesting development has been the opening of our SFPL To Go sites. Just yesterday, Thursday, 2 days ago, I was in the Mission at our SFPL To Go Go bookmobile stop, and it's an opportunity to give STEM kits. We gave art kits in conjunction with SF MoMA. We were giving out free books, and I think that type of engagement. So Summer Stride isn't a program just to do Summer Stride. It's an idea that, like, the reason for doing this mainly is to reach kids, to ensure that they aren't falling behind during the summer, to ensure that kids that maybe have been underserved aren't the ones who are suffering the worst outcomes. And I think even something like SFPL To Go now offers us more opportunities to engage and more opportunities to do things like, if this is the case next year, we could provide paper trackers. We could have kind of more minimal engagement with people who may have those barriers. We might feel more comfortable dropping off trackers to senior assisted living places. We might have more opportunities like that. But I even think just now versus August, there's been a lot that has changed. And if this were the case now, we might even do things differently today than we would have 3 months ago.
Thank you.
I would just add that with Alejandro and his team, we had access to book giveaways, and we work with our community-based organizations who had access to the kids who needed these resources the most, and we're able to provide them with books throughout the summer, which was really important to us. And we were in conversation with SFUSD throughout the summer to get a feel for how they were connecting and messaging with families so they could remind them about the resources that we had available and that they all had a library card at the ready. So we deeply care about reaching the non-user, and every year we think about this, like, who are we not serving and how can we reach them? And it really is through our partnerships that we'll continue to develop and continue to remain a valued service to our community. So thank you for that question.
Thank you so much for to both of you. I'm going to ask Commissioner Ono to unmute herself.
Oh, Commissioner Lee, were you finished with your questions, or?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Thank you very much, Christy and Alejandro, for the great presentation. As previous commissioners have said, this is one of the best programs SFPL puts on, and I am just impressed with your turnaround of 1,000 events and changing everything in 1 month. The other thing I want to really thank you for is that you individually named the other team members and what they contributed to this program. That always reminds me that SFPL is such a team-oriented organization and a body, and it just makes me warm and happy that everyone was involved and that the program was such a success. I am very impressed with all the numbers too, so I appreciate that. But as was said earlier, you learned a lot this year, and we have a lot of things to do for next year if we have to do this the same way again. So thank you all for a great job.
Thank you so much, commissioners. We're going to, if there's not any other comments or for Christy as well as Alejandro, we are going to finish up this item. And I just want to thank the two of them again. There's not much more that I have to add to it, except for Charlotte Webb was one of my favorite books as a child as well. So it's really fun to see it in the top 3. And so continue doing it. It's definitely fire, Christy. Clearly you guys are on fire, and thank you so much for the way that you are serving the San Francisco and just the community, because clearly it's beyond San Francisco. It's a global community that this digital platform of SFPL has opened up. So thank you so much. So with that, we're going to move on to item number 3. And this is going to be our city librarians report. This item is an opportunity for the city librarian to report on recent library activities and to make announcements. And there's several areas. And there's explanatory documents to go along with this. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our city librarian.
Thank you so much, President Wardell. I have a couple of reports this evening. Next slide, please. Okay, we'll start with the community hubs, and I have a brief report on the status of the community hubs. As a reminder, this initiative is a partnership with the Department of Children, Youth, and Families to support the city's most vulnerable populations of school-age children with their distance learning. These hubs also provide access to food and social and emotional supports. Next slide, please. I'm pleased to report that 2 library locations successfully launched on October 5th. The Bernal Heights Branch Library is being managed and operated by the Mission YMCA, and the Richmond Branch Library is being managed by the Richmond Neighborhood Center. I visited both locations that first morning, and I met with the staff from these community-based organizations. Our library staff have done an excellent job in working with the CBOs to prepare these facilities for hosting the learning cohorts. I was struck by the youth and families who were waiting patiently outside the Bernal Heights branch a full 45 minutes before the doors were set to open. It really demonstrated the excitement and the need for this service. Next slide, please. So this is an image of the Richmond Branch Library on that first morning. As you can see, the youth are spaced apart to maintain physical distancing, and they were all very focused on their schoolwork. I'm so proud that the library was able to provide our facilities with high-speed connectivity for these youth to be able to get onto the internet and participate in their Zoom sessions with their teachers and classmates. I was at the Richmond Branch Library this morning with District 1 Supervisor Sandra Fuhr and DCYF Director Sue to tour the supervisor through the hub and allow her to meet with our staff and the CBO personnel. Our library staff prepared Summer Stride tote bags with age-appropriate books for each youth that they received during their lunchtime today. Next slide, please. So here's a snapshot of the Richmond Neighborhood Center staff set up outside the entrance of Richmond to do the intake and welcome the students. There's also a photo of me with our dedicated custodian, Manny Mabry, at the Bernal Heights Branch Library that first day. I just want to acknowledge our custodial team. These hubs would not have been able to launch without the support of our custodial staff, and I want to recognize their hard work and their essential contributions. Next slide, please. More images here of the Richmond Branch Library and the nice signage they've created to make the youth feel welcome and staff. They've got the schedule posted and information about the CBO staff. Next slide, please. So in the coming weeks, we expect to see 5 more branches to be activated as community learning hubs. The North Beach Library, the Western Addition Branch Library, and Visitation Valley, they're all slated to open on Monday, October 26th. And you may recall that Visitation Valley will be doing double duty as a learning hub and as an SFPL To Go site. The Ingleside Branch Library and the Bayview Branch Library are both slated to begin operation as community learning hubs on November 9th. Other branches that may come online as hubs in future phases include Ortega Branch, Chinatown, and the Sunset Branch Library. And I'm so proud of the library staff who have stepped up and showed up to support youth and families at this critical time. And that concludes the report on the community learning hubs. We can transition now to the next presentation about SFPL To Go. So I am really pleased to share the positive momentum that we're experiencing with our SFPL To Go service. It's been a little over 2 months since we started holds pickup at the main library and Excelsior. Next slide, please. Last month, I shared the opening of 4 branches, and today I'm pleased to report that we were able to open 3 more branches for SFPL To Go service this week: the Chinatown Branch Library, Ortega, and Visitation Valley. And it's really wonderful to be able to bring these locations back online, particularly in disparate neighborhoods in our city. Next slide, please. The branch teams have been hard at work setting up their locations for SFPL To Go. Here we have the talented branch manager from the Visitation Valley branch, Barbara Mays, and the circulation supervisor, Eric Shapiro, sporting his cool shades there. It was really exciting to see the team in action on Tuesday and witness their very first SFPL To Go patron visit to retrieve their holds and pick up their Summer Stride tote bag. I was able to frequent the local coffee shop on a break, and there was a buzz inside that cafe. The owner was so happy that the branch was open again, and their patrons were happy as well. Next slide, please. And here are some photos from the Ortega Branch Library with some of the preparations on display. At Ortega, we're fortunate to have the leadership of Naima Dean. Naima is normally the branch manager for the Western Addition Branch Library, but she's holding the fort as the acting branch manager in the absence of Tiffany Locke, who is still deployed as a disaster service worker performing contact tracing investigations. So thank you, Naima, for pinch hitting. It was wonderful to see Naima and the team on Tuesday setting up and getting ready to open. Next slide, please. And last but not least, here are some photos from the Chinatown Branch Library. Our Children's Services Manager, Eileen Kuo, is leading this SFPL To Go operation. I want to give Eileen a shout out for stepping up this past month to open Chinatown as a weather relief center to help Chinatown residents be able to seek respite from the extreme heat and the unhealthy air. In fact, they are currently open again today and tomorrow due to the high temperature outside. I know this community in particular has been anxious for their library to open so that they can get their hands on our collections again. I was at Chinatown Tuesday afternoon to witness a steady stream of patrons returning items and picking up holds. The staff have done a great job setting up SFPL To Go in Chinatown. Next slide, please. As we open up more libraries, we have also launched SFPL To Go Go. This is a pop-up pickup service. It's a partnership with the San Francisco Unified School District to bring our bookmobiles out to public school sites to serve patrons of any age in areas where branches have not been able to reopen yet. We launched on October 6th with book giveaways, and we're now fulfilling holds at these sites. Next slide, please. Near the Ocean View Branch Library and serving the greater OMI community, we're at Jose Ortega Elementary School. And even though this school is up a steep hill from the Ocean View branch, we've seen a tremendous amount of visits in the first week. In fact, we ran out of the giveaway books within 2 days, and that required us to send staff back to our warehouse to replenish the giveaways before our visits were done. Next slide, please. For the Mission neighborhood, we are at John O'Connell High School in the heart of the Mission District. More than 500 hold requests from the Mission branch were transferred to the bookmobiles to be fulfilled at this site. As you know, the Mission Branch Library is going to be closed for the next couple of years for the upcoming renovation. Next slide, please. In the Bayview, we are at Willie Brown Middle School providing library service. We know that the Bayview branch is transitioning to a community learning hub for distance learning next month. So this allows us to keep critical library service going for that neighborhood. We're also serving Treasure Island on Wednesdays. The school sites are served on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 2 to 6 p.m. And we have to thank the San Francisco Unified School District for being such great partners in providing space and support for our bookmobiles and sending along their own teacher librarians to each site to provide a welcoming face to the students who stop by. Next slide, please. So our research strategy and analytics unit continues to crunch the numbers and monitor the level of business. Since opening the doors for SFPL To Go at the main library on August 10th and at Excelsior on August 11th and 4 additional locations on September 1st, we've seen 23,646 patrons visit our 6 open locations, and that data is through October 5th. System-wide, SFPL To Go is averaging about 485 visitors a day. But over the past several weeks, visits have been trending up, peaking at 1,565 visitors on Saturday, October 3rd alone. With 3 more locations that came online this week, we expect even greater patronage of SFPL To Go throughout our communities over the next several weeks. Next slide, please. As reflected in our average hourly visits, SFPL To Go remains especially popular on Saturdays and the first half of the week at the main library. Our 12 p.m. Sunday opening hour is the main library's highest overall, most popular hour of operation. Branches likewise show their highest demand on Saturday, with Tuesdays remaining busy, likely due to the latent demand from our Sunday and Monday closures. While the main branch is showing consistency of visitors throughout the day, the branches tend to be busier mid to late afternoon between 2 to 5 p.m. Next slide, please. So this map shows locations of patrons who have used our SFPL To Go services. It clearly shows patrons visiting locations in their local vicinity. As we open up more SFPL To Go locations, we expect to serve patrons from more areas of the city. Next slide, please. The library hopes to bring additional branches online in the coming weeks as staffing capacity permits. Next in the pipeline will be the Anza Branch Library, which will serve an important role in resuming library services in the northwest quadrant of the city. And I do want to take a moment to acknowledge the public comment earlier, and I just want to remind the Commission and members of the public that the library staff presented a phased reopening plan at our special meeting of the Library Commission on July 9th, and we continue to follow that plan. I am currently in discussions with our labor partners from SEIU 1021. We need to work collaboratively with staff to co-create a new service model and figure out how we can enhance the level of service we're providing while protecting the health and safety of our staff. That is our number one priority. We will continue to reopen and expand services as we're able and when it's safe to do so. Currently, the public health order for the city and county of San Francisco does not allow for patrons to enter our facilities. Our health and safety plans that have been approved by the Office of the City Administrator only allow for front door service, SFPL To Go. We have constraints on how many staff we can safely have in our buildings at one time. Staffing capacity is a constraint for us. Currently, about 45% of our staffing capacity is not available for library operations. We still have about 1/4 of our workforce deployed as disaster service workers. We have 100 librarians alone serving as contact tracers and performing critical contact tracing investigations. This is so key to the city's progress indicators for reopening the city and the economy. We have over 8% of our staff on leave for various reasons. Some of our staff have underlying health conditions that prevent them from being able to return to work. Other staff are caring for their own family members who have health conditions. We have staff who have childcare challenges with the schools being closed. So you add it all up, and and also we have a number of vacancies. We've seen a wave of retirements since this pandemic started, and we have over 100 positions that are currently vacant. So I am monitoring what our peers in the industry are doing, and I'm very cognizant that some libraries across the country have been open this entire time. Some libraries have opened only to have to regress and close and go back to only offering curbside pickup as cases of COVID surge in their local community. We're going to proceed cautiously. We are entering the fall when more people are going to be indoors together. So I just want to reassure the commission and members of the public that we are committed to delivering the highest possible level of service we can with the resources we have available. And in doing so, keeping the health and safety of our staff and our community as a top priority. And that concludes the SFPL To Go update and the City Librarians report. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, City Librarian Lambert. At this time, we're going to go to the public comment on this item. And then after that, we'll have a discussion by the commissioners. Operations, can you put through the first caller?
Caller number 3, your 3 minutes begins now.
Yes. I don't know why I'm caller number 3. This is Peter Warfield, Executive Director of Library Users Association. We can be reached at libraryusers2004@yahoo.com. I think, unfortunately, this is a case of drowning people in details without having basic statistics and comparisons at larger levels. I'd like to comment that I think it's really appalling that we have 2 major things having to do with the fundamental functioning of the library, both on the same agenda item, thereby making public comment shrunk to 1.5 minutes per item, basically. I think that's very wrong, and there's a lot to be said about these things. So the first thing is, where are the stats for both reports? Starting with Library To Go. The Berkeley Public Library has about the same per capita budget as we do. I won't go into how late and how slowly the library is operating, but our library has less than a quarter of the branches operating, of the locations operating, including the main, whereas Berkeley has its main and all of its branches 100% operating. Berkeley has far more hours. They have 50 hours open for the main library, 52 for the branches. We have 37 and a half hours for the branches, far less, and 47 and a half for the main. Although members of the public have repeatedly told the library they want more evenings and weekends in surveys the library has run on its own, there are 0 evening hours anywhere in our system. By contrast, in Berkeley, you can go 4 nights a week till 8 o'clock to one of the locations, and all of the locations, the branches have 3 nights a week, and is somebody saying something to me? 3 nights a week for the branches and 2 nights a week for the central. So they overlap so that they have Monday through Thursday till 8 o'clock, and we have 0 evening hours. What about people who work? What about people who need some different hours at different branches? None of that is available. We have in the past boasted that 5,000 people a day are visiting the main library. Where's the comparison for the visitors that number paltry, less than, well under 1,000 in every instance, daily visiting? Where is the comparison for circulation? We need to have some of that showing, and we also need to know why the hubs are basically hogging the whole library. What are the statistics for attendance? I saw very few kids in the pictures and 0 statistics regarding the hubs, which have numbered as high as 15 at times, and we need to know why those...
Thank you for your comment. Operations, will you put through the next caller, please?
Madam President, there are no additional commenters.
Okay, seeing that there's no additional commenters on this item, we're going to move into our commission discussion. So this is a discussion opportunity for the commission to both make comments and or ask clarifying questions. And so I'm going to monitor for the hand raise, and we'll call upon the commissioner that has either a comment or question in regard to this commission item, this agenda item. While I'm looking at that, I just want to thank City Librarian Lambert for the ongoing clarity and staying the course in leading the San Francisco Public Library and working as an essential, in many ways, essential director and executive within the city, ensuring that as San Francisco has maintained a low COVID rate among all areas geographically, among any city and county in the United States, for its size and just the breadth of activity that we have, and the role that the San Francisco Public Library staff have had in responding in a myriad of ways, and the way that those individuals have stayed the course and have been deployed, and still we're able to have a measured approach in reopening safely, and to do so within the guidelines of the Public Health Department directives. It's really important for us to continue to remember that we are in a pandemic, and we do not have a vaccination, and we are entering the fall season, of which there will be the confluence of the regular influenza along with this coronavirus, and so we have to be diligent in following the leadership of the City and County of San Francisco and the Office of the Mayor to ensure that we maintain both the response to the needs of those those patrons continue to open up these to go and now the go go services and with the community hubs, but to do it in a way that allows us to not join the chorus of other cities that are taking steps backwards, as well as do not have the complexity as the city and county of San Francisco has in the number of patrons, number of facilities, number of employees, and number of communities in which we're trying to serve. It's a lot of things that Michael is balancing. And I just wanted to acknowledge that. Commissioner Wong, I see that your hand is up, and I finished my comments. And Commissioner Wong, if you would unmute yourself.
Thank you, President Wardell. Yeah, I just have to respond very briefly to the public comment. I think, in particular, it's funny that, I think some people just can't seem to decide whether or not they want detail or not. And here it seems like they have too much detail, and before it was too little detail. And so, some consistency would be nice, first of all. But I think what President Wardell, you were saying towards the end is incredibly important, right? I think it's totally fair for our residents to demand, more service, better service, right? It is something we ought to expect for an organization like this. I think what sort of crosses the line for me is when people think they have the same information as the people who are making these decisions and think they also can decide better, right? And I think that's really difficult argument to make because, one, we know that's not true, right? Like there's only a few people who really understand, like truly, the types of decisions that have to be made and all of the controlling factors that have to be pulled into that decision. For example, if we're comparing San Francisco to Berkeley, surely the budget size is one of them, the budget per capita is one of them, fine. But what about all the other factors in San Francisco? For example, the percentage of the library staff in San Francisco versus Berkeley that is currently deployed as a disaster service worker. Over time, too. Let's talk, if we're going to do that comparison, we should also do it from March till today. I'm pretty sure, I don't even know that number, right? And I'm pretty sure the vast majority of people who are dialed into this meeting don't know that number. My suspicion is that the numbers are very, very different between those two. So for that reason alone, it's really hard to make that comparison, right? I think overall, it is one thing to say, I personally never argued against, the demands to have more hours, have better hours, have more subscriptions, to spend more on books. I think we all want those things. The reality is that it is now up to our leaders in this department to figure out, given the resources that we do have and given the current situation that in terms of funding and also the other demands being placed on this department from other parts of the city, it is up to them to balance all those factors and make the correct decision, right? And it's very, very hard for anyone to render any judgment on the quality of that decision. So I think with all due respect to the public comment, I firmly disagree with the assessment being made on the decision-making process. Although I do value their ongoing demands for the library to continue to strive to be better as it always has. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Wong. I don't see any other hands up among the commissioners. And with that, we're going to bring this particular item to a close. Thank you all. Thank you, the librarian, for the report, the public for your comments, as well as the commission for your discussion. We're going to move on to the fourth item of our agenda, which is the approval of the minutes of September 17th, 2020. This will require an action on behalf of the commission. At this time, I'd like to call for a public comment on this item. Controller, is there any individuals, commenters in the queue?
Madam President, there are presently no commenters in the queue. Someone just raised their hand.
Will you please put the commenter through?
Caller number 3, your 3 minutes begins now.
I'm not sure what caller number 3 means, but this is Peter Warfield, Executive Director of Library Users Association. We can be reached at libraryusers2004@yahoo.com. With respect to the minutes, these seem quite a bit more rambling and a lot less clear than some of the other minutes which we have seen previously during this COVID time. I do want to say that, of course, we are glad when the library improves and increases its service, but I think the commissioner had a very lengthy comment about all the different reasons or possible reasons why the library service isn't what perhaps some people would like to see. That's exactly why you should have a separate section at the end of the meeting, as you have had in the past historically, for subjects that you want to take up. I have never said you shouldn't give the information that you have. I'm always glad to hear information. But what I said was that key questions were not given any information in detail. There weren't statistics, basic statistics, circulation records, information about how the attendance compares to normal times. Nothing at all, nor reasons why, specifically why the service is what it is when it's compared with other places. I didn't say that it was wrong. I certainly said that we'd like to see something more comparable to what Berkeley has with the same budget per capita. But I didn't say that there was anything wrong with the reasons the library might have. I'd like to just see them discussed openly and the statistics provided on key matters. With respect to the minutes, they suffer from a lack of clarity on comments we've made routinely. On agenda item number 1, general public comment. And let me say as an aside, if anybody wants to know what we think, please do not take the library's minutes as a reliable indicator. They're often wrong. They are sometimes the shading and the clarity is very poor at times, and the emphases may be wrong. Also, things are left out. With respect to the public comment on number 1, it says here, in general, he wanted to say that the web opportunity basically broke privacy. I don't know what that means. I can say that I'm very concerned, we are very concerned about the tremendous losses of privacy that people suffer when they get on the web in any form, whether it's a library program or a library RSVP or anything like that. The data mining, the manipulation, and the toxic web environment are very much a problem. It should be clear.
Thank you for your comment. Operations, are there any other commenters in the queue?
Madam President, there's an additional comment.
Please put our commenter through.
Marcia, your 3 minutes begins now.
Hi, I just want to publicly comment that the meeting minutes as a note taker look fantastic. And I also wanted to make a public comment that, SFPL cannot reopen hastily because we owe it to our staff and the public to not go backwards. So I strongly support the way that the public library has been operating. And I always believe that the library wants what's best for our community because often we serve the most vulnerable. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. Operations, are there any other commenters in the queue?
Madam President, there are no additional commenters.
Okay, seeing that there's none, public comment on this item is closed. And so, commissioners, we have an action item before us, and we will need to do roll call for this action item, and that means that I will be calling your name after we have gone through the process of having an individual who will respond to make a motion in a second. And so just know that I have to monitor, and it's a little bit slower in a virtual environment because we need to verbally call upon each one of you. So at this particular time, I am would like to see, is there a motion on the agenda? I mean, motion on the minutes on this agenda item.
This is Commissioner Wolf. I so move to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Commissioner Wolf. Is there a second, Commissioner?
This is Commissioner Long. I second.
Thank you so much. We have a motion and a second from both Commissioners Commissioner Wolf and Commissioner Long. Is there any other comments or anything else that anyone has in regard to this? Okay, so what I'd like to do is that I'd like to call the question. All those in favor of accepting and approving these minutes as they are, please say aye, and I am going to go through and call the names of the remaining commissioners. Commissioner Ono.
Aye.
Commissioner Lee.
Aye.
Commissioner Mall. Commissioner Mall, can you please unmute yourself?
I can't.
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, good. But I can't, I'm the wrong, I haven't had visual contact. But if you can hear me, I say aye.
Thank you. And Commissioner Lopez.
Aye.
Thank you. All those opposed? All right, the meeting minutes pass as they are proposed. And we will move on to our final item of the agenda, which is our adjournment. Will require a action on behalf of the commission. What I'd like to do now is ask for our last public comment and ask for control to put through any commenters for our last public comment.
Call number 3, your 3 minutes begins now.
Well, again, it's Peter Warfield, Executive Director of Library Users Association. You can reach us at libraryusers2004@yahoo.com. As I have done before, I want to make a mention that you should not adjourn until you have insisted that future agendas contain what you used to have routinely on every agenda. You used to call it new business. I looked at an old agenda. It was called new business. It's not what's considered new business under Robert's rules. But what it is new business, and the intention is that gives each of the commissioners an opportunity to say what they would like to have on a future agenda for action, for discussion, and so on. And you're supposed to be quite limited in what you comment and say about public comment or about anything that's not on the agenda during your regular meeting. And that's for purposes of open government so that the public can hear and observe and perhaps participate in whatever discussion is considered worthy to have. We had another example today of a lengthy comment about a public comment, and that's fine. But it should be agendized so that, yes, let's hear more details. That's exactly what I asked for. More detail on major issues like circulation, like comparisons to regular times, like reasons for why those might be happening. Of course, we absolutely want a safe library for everybody that's involved, the workers, the folks who come, the folks who work there, and so on. Of course, we want good hours. We understand there are always limitations. You can't always have everything you want. We used to have somebody who came to Library Commission meetings and said he'd like the library to open at 6 in the morning and close at midnight. Working people that way could come for sure during some part of the day when they could make it. In any case, I think that that's very significant. You are denied your purpose as a library commissioner, and I'd like to certainly address that particularly to all the commissioners and particularly the new one. An opportunity to say what you want on a future agenda item is vital to represent the public and to make sure that the library does take up issues that you consider important and are interested in. And I think you should not adjourn until you insist that that be on every agenda as the last or nearly last item, as you have done before and as many other bodies routinely do. Thank you.
Thank you. Controller, are there any further commenters on this final public comment?
Madam President, there are no additional commenters.
Thank you. We will close our public comments for this item and for this evening. Commissioners, we are at the point of adjournment. Again, I will need to do a roll call in order to formally adjourn our meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, we have Commissioner Wong. Do I have a second to Commissioner Wong's?
I'll second. This is Commissioner Ono.
Commissioner Ono, thank you very much. I'll make a little note. And so we have a motion and a second. For all the remaining commissioners, I'm going to call upon you, and all those who are in favor say aye. Commissioner Mall? Commissioner Mall?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Lee?
Aye.
Commissioner Wolf?
Aye.
And Commissioner Lopez?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion is unanimously passed. Oh, actually, there's no one left to say no. So the motion is unanimously passed. So I want to thank all of you again, for those of you who are still on this meeting, for being a part of the entirety of this San Francisco Public Library Commission meeting. We again want to say how excited and pleased we are to have Dr. Urena Lopez as our newest commissioner. We look forward to seeing you, the public that are still here, at our next Library Commission, and this meeting is formally adjourned. Thank you.